As you probably all know by now, a new Fate Stay Night adaptation by Ufotable is airing in October, and I am hyped! I normally try to keep my expectations as reasonable as possible, but this is an exception. Fate Zero was amazing, and I really hope that the sequel holds up. But let's not ignore its previous adaptation by Studio Dean. While nowhere near the worst anime that I've ever seen, it really isn't all that good or memorable. So, I'm here to talk about the 5 ways to potentially fix it in the new Fate Stay Night remake. Number 5. Bring all the English voice actors back. Yeah, this request is a little bit far-fetched and something that I probably won't have to worry about for a while. But I still think that this is a valid point. If this new Fate Stay Night anime does get an English dub, I think that the voice actors from the original Fate Stay Night should return to play some of their roles, except for the characters that also carry over from Fate Zero, like Saber, Gilgamesh, and Kirei. Other than that, I'd say keep the original voice actors. Except maybe Shiro's. Honestly, the guy who played Shiro in the original Fate Stay Night is what turned the dub from good to just plain average. So you can change him. If I had to choose which voice actor I want them to keep the most though, it would definitely be Liam O'Brien as Archer. While I want most of the original voice actors to come back, Liam O'Brien was absolutely perfect as Archer, and I hope to see him again in the role. Number 4. Throw in a little Heaven's Feel. Again, maybe this is asking a little bit much as the new storyline is actually going to be an original one, but hey, an adaptation's an adaptation after all. You're going to have to use some content from your original source material. So, from what I've heard about Heaven's Feel, it seems to be the best arc out of the entire visual novel. So I took the liberty of looking it up, and I have to agree, it seems to be the most complex, dark, and interesting out of all the routes. So I'd like to see some of those elements thrown into this anime, or mixed into this anime is probably better terminology. Number 3. More focus on the other masters and servants. As much as I liked Rin, Archer, and Saber, I feel like the other masters and servants didn't get a lot of focus in the original anime. This is entirely personal preference, though to be perfectly honest, everything else on this list is. But I want to know more about Castor, Ryder, the villain characters, Lancer, and the other masters and servants in the anime. This is coming from someone who thinks that Fate Zero is one of the best battle royale stories I've ever seen because we got to know all of the ideals and goals of the characters, and a lack of a main character is what really caused that to happen. I'm not saying that Shiro shouldn't be the main character, I'm just saying that I'd like a more diverse cast of characters when it comes to mindsets and goals for winning the Holy Grail, and for the show to go into more detail with them. Number 2. Less focus on comedy. This problem involves one of the largest critical problems of the original Fate Stay Night, the fact that it had no solid tone throughout. Granted, it did have a tone which was rather ominous and serious, but the comedic scenes and the serious scenes didn't mesh very well and caused the tone to get lost somewhere. I'm not saying to get rid of the comedy altogether, as the original anime did have a nice sense of humor, but it shouldn't take up a good chunk of the show, and the more serious aspect should be the priority. For example, Fullmetal Brotherhood had a lot of comedy in it, but its focus was mainly on its more serious tones and themes. In Fate Stay Night, there was a bit more of a divide between the two. This could be a good or bad thing depending on your tastes, but I personally like the more serious scenes, and I wish that the anime will focus on those more. Number 1. Develop Shiro as a character. This is my biggest problem with the original Fate Stay Night, and it's the fact that Shiro remains static and generic throughout the entire show. Every time I looked at him, I'd either think generic shonen main character, or for Haruhi's sake, do something! He's reckless and will willingly sacrifice his life for others, but at the same time seems to have no regard for his own well-being. This is a case of what I like to call unrealistically selfless. This is a situation where a character is made out to be so much of an altruistic god that he is no longer human. He is also portrayed as being not very smart and falling for the most ridiculous of requests. Remember in the first episode where his quote-unquote friend had him clean out the shrine for him, and you could obviously tell that the friend is using him? It's not that hard to figure out, Shiro. Why are you so ignorant? I also don't really like how he seems to force his ideology on us without factoring in sacrifices. Which leads me to my greatest problem with Shiro. He never loses anything. And even when he does lose something that matters to him, he's completely unfazed. That's not normal. You can't just sacrifice something you love and then forget about it the next day. That defeats the entire point of a sacrifice. He didn't seem to learn anything new throughout the anime, and it shows. In the new Fate Stay Night anime, I hope that Shiro matures and learns about making sacrifices for the greater good and the actual burden of those sacrifices, as it seems to be the most logical development for a character of his nature. So, do you agree? Disagree? Leave it in the comments and I'll see you guys next time.